Welcome to Now You're Cooking here in the Fisher Kitchen at the Hy-Vee Culinary Club Room. I'm Chef Allie, as you know, and today we are going to make a sunny lemon meringue pie, which is always kind of nice to have in those cold winter months when your heart needs to tell your head to cheer up. You know, your palate needs something kind of bright and special. But before we get to the lemon meringue part, which will be our next segment, today we're going to make our pastry crust. And we're going to make that homemade using all-purpose flour, and I love the gold medal, and we always want to use Crisco shortening in our pastry crust recipe. Here in my mixing bowl, I've already got 1/3 cup of the Crisco shortening plus 1 tablespoon. To that, we're going to add 1 cup of all-purpose flour, the gold medal, like I said. Here's my kosher salt. Now, at this point, what we want to do is we want to cut our shortening into our flour until all of that shortening works its way into the flour and actually looks kind of like peas in size. Now, there's 2 methods of that. You can use the knife and spoon method, or if you have a pastry blender, you can use that as well. I'm kind of old school. I like to do it the old way, like my grandma taught me. And so I'm just actually going to work my shortening right into my flour and my salt. Now, at this point, I've got my chilled water right there. I had that in the freezer, and make for sure that you use chilled water in this recipe. That enables your dough to stay chilled as you're working with it, because if it gets too warm, it's kind of hard to manage. And what we want to do is we would just want to add 2 tablespoons just here at the beginning, maybe adding a 3rd one as we go, but we like to see first if we're going to need that. So I'm going to stir this together, and we don't want to overwork our dough, because when we do that, it causes the gluten to release from our flour, and sometimes that gives us that nice overworked dough that we don't want. Makes it tough. I'm going to add just a little bit more water and stir again with my fork, just bringing this all together. Now, at this point, I've of course washed my hands already, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my dough together with my fingers. It's a nice soft dough. Now here I've got just a little bit of flour. I'm going to sprinkle that just gently over my parchment paper, and also just a little tiny bit over my dough. And you want to make this actually into kind of a disc form at this point. Lay this in the center of your parchment. Now if you're using a nice big parchment, you can actually just fold it in half like I've done here, or if you're using parchment paper from Hy-Vee that comes in a roll, you're actually going to want to tear off 2 sheets, one for the bottom and one for the top. Okay, now my rolling pin is here, and what we will do is we're just going to take our rolling pin and we're going to roll our dough, working always from the center. We're just going to roll this out. Now the trick to this is we're going to roll it, always feeling, making for sure that we're getting it nice and even. My pie plate is here, and we're just going to roll this out until it's a nice big circle, probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. Now at this point we're going to loosen our parchment from this side. Okay, sprinkle a tiny bit of flour right over the top of our pastry dough, and I mean just a little tiny bit. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over. We'll loosen it here on this side, adding just a tiny bit of flour again. That's why it's always handy to just have that little bowl right here where you can grab just a pinch. And then we're going to continue to roll. There we go. Sprinkling just a little bit more flour. It's really important at this point to sprinkle this with flour, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half to transfer it to our pie plate. Okay, so we'll put that in the center. And as you can see, this probably needed to be just a little bit bigger, but of course we can always use our fingers to press that out to fit our pan. Now, it's important to, here's one that I made ahead of time, and as you can see, I pressed this out, and then what I did is I made this pretty edge, because I think it looks nice when we take our dough and kind of crimp it with our fingers. But it's important to press those down so as it's baking, it doesn't fall down on itself. When we bake our pie crust like this, where it's open, this is for a cream pie. This is called baking our pie crust blind. It's very important to prick the dough with a fork all the way around, which I can sure do. But then another important step is to stick your pastry crust, once you have it all pretty and the edges crimped, into the freezer. It needs to go to chill for 10 minutes. Don't forget that step, because you will find that as you bake that, it helps hold your pie shell in place, helps the sides to stay up firm like you want them to. We're going to put that into a 475-degree oven just for 10 minutes on the center rack until it's nice and golden, just like this one. Next week, when you come back to join me here at Wednesday, on Wednesday at 4, we are going to make the filling for the Sunny Lemon Meringue Cream Pie, as well as the meringue. I'm going to show you how to make Mile High meringue for your lemon pie. So please join me next week, 4 o'clock. I'm Chef Allie here in the Hy-Vee kitchen, and remember, now you're cooking.